Am I the asshole for giving my sister-in-law 3 days notice that I would no longer be making a cake for her daughter's 3rd birthday after finding out she and her parents told others about my history? I, 28 female, love to bake and will often make cakes and stuff for friends, and since I met my in-laws in 2018, I'll do it for them as well. My sister-in-law asked me to bake her daughter's cake for her birthday, and her birthday is this weekend. She asked me back in October, and we discussed what she wanted in detail. It's not my first time making her cakes, but it is my first time as her sister-in-law officially, and where I felt like I was truly a part of the family. 3 days ago, I was out grocery shopping, and I ran into a family friend of my in-laws. This person is not someone I like very much. She's a bad gossip and seems to have some malice in her while sharing gossip about others. I try to be polite to everyone, and I normally don't talk to her, but she stopped me and went out of her way to ask me when my husband and I are having kids. Then she mentioned me being a foster child and an affair baby, and she did it in a way that was meant to come across as concern, but was really her being intrusive and cruel. She mentioned that my in-laws and sister-in-law were concerned about our kids not having anyone. I told my husband when he got home from work, and I was a mess. It might seem dumb, but I felt like his family betrayed the trust I put in them, and they did the one thing they were asked not to do, which was tell people about my history. It's not something I want to broadcast to everyone who knows me. My husband confronted his parents and sister, and they said they only mentioned it to, quote, a few close circle of people. And they defended it when my husband said that wasn't okay. Sister-in-law said it's not like people wouldn't find out eventually, and he asked her how they would find out if they never told them. My history is that both my parents were married to others and had children with their other spouses when they had an affair. I was the result. Both sets of first children were technically adults or close to it when I was born. The day before my 5th birthday, we were in a car crash together. My parents died, and so did the people in the other car. I was the only survivor, and I was in the hospital for a few weeks after. Nobody in either of my parents' families wanted me, and I was brought up in foster care the rest of my life. I never found a family. After hearing sister-in-law say what she did and realize how unapologetic they were, and hearing how little they cared about what they did to me, I asked if I could speak to sister-in-law for a second, and told her not to expect a cake from me after going against what I wanted and having such little care for the harm it caused. She went crazy and said it was only 3 days until the birthday party, and my husband backed me up and said, so what? She and their parents were blowing up his phone so bad he had to block them. And I worried that I'm being a bit of an asshole saying no with such short notice. Am I the asshole?
The fact that I don't have a cute way of telling people how I found out I was pregnant kind of, you know, literally now I laugh at it. Back then I was pretty much depressed when I found out, but like anyways, like let me tell you the tea. So keep in mind I have very irregular periods. I don't know what it is, but I feel like my periods were just always irregular. They just never came, or sometimes they would come, but it was only for a little bit of time. So like me not getting my period, I was like, oh, it's gonna come, it's gonna show up, maybe. So I literally had just turned 19, and girl, I almost beat teen pregnancy. I was this close. My baby dad had took me out to Philly to celebrate because, girl, you know, like, you know, alone time, you feel me? It was just, you know, what boyfriends and girlfriends do. So we're in Philly, and before we went to Philadelphia, we had picked up a bottle of, you feel me? And I'm not a really big drinker. I don't know, it's not really my thing unless it's like a nice little fruity drink, something that I can't say to lick, but you know, we was taking that bottle straight to the freaking face. We had went out to the city, we went to a museum and stuff, and keep in mind, I started to notice that I'm like, damn, I gotta pee, like, and I'm like, I need to pee every 5 fucking seconds, but like, again, I'm not really thinking much of it, because I'm just like, damn, I did drink a lot of water, and I was drinking, you feel me, so, it's, you know, it's hitting, so I just wasn't thinking at all. Afterwards, we were just vibing, we were just doing our thing or whatever, and it was later on when we had ordered a lot of food. When I tell you we spent a lot of money on this Italian food, and it was literally amazing, but later on that night, we had went outside. It was really late at night too. We were just vibing outside or whatever. He was talking to me, and my body just literally like, that's how I was feeling the whole time he was talking. And I'm starting to think, damn, like, I really can't hold the you know, I was like, damn, I'm really lightweight. Like, we didn't even finish, and it was a little itty bitty. Like, bro, lightweight. I was thinking I'm a lightweight. He was just telling me about stuff at work, and obviously, like, when you're a girlfriend, you want to listen to what your partner has to say. So I'm just listening to my ex and be like, oh yeah, like, but I felt so bad because, like, my mind was my whole body was just, you feel me? So of course your girl ends up puking her lungs out. When I tell you I was puking. It was disgusting. I literally threw up every single food particle that I had that day. So then my ex was the one who said, like, girl, you're pregnant. And I'm like, girl, like, why would you say that? And of course, like, when you really, like, fucking unprotected, like, you really think that, like, nothing's ever gonna happen. I swear to you not. And I think it's because, like, we was at it for a while now, and we never ever used protection, and nothing ever happened. So, I thought we was just like, okay, like, balling. It was getting to a point where I really thought your girl couldn't get pregnant, and I was like, okay, like, I'm just not gonna have kids. Take the L. Go at it. But anyways, I'm telling my ex, like, boy, shut up. Like, you're literally, like, you're on something. Like, no, I'm not pregnant at all. Like, that's impossible. Like, Katie cannot be pregnant. No way. So after he said that, I kind of questioned it in my mind a little bit. Like, could I really be? Like, it's a little odd that it's, you know, whatever. So when we left Philadelphia, I went back home and I went to Walgreens. And I got, like, the cheapest test I could find. It came in a 2-pack, and I had took them. And, like, it was so faint, y'all. It said it was so faint. So I'm like, girl, this is cap. I had called my ex, and I had told him, like, yo, like, this is kind of faint. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and honestly, like, he wasn't very, like, supportive. He wasn't really the shoulder that I thought he was gonna give me. Like, I understand, like, if you're not in agreement to having a kid right now, I totally understand. But I was definitely sad, you know, especially with all these emotions coming through, because, like, girl, I was really trying to be like, no way, like, that's impossible, that can't be it. And the day after that, my ex had told me to come and see him at his house and to get a clear blue. So I went to Walgreens before I went to his house, and I got a clear blue, because, girl, if you ever been preggers, you know that clear blue is gonna tell you, girl, you're pregnant, or girl, you're not pregnant. I took the test, and that shit said pregnant, flat out. That they didn't even take, you know how usually says it's gonna take 3 minutes for it to pop up? No, girl, that said pregnant. At first, girl, I wanted to get an abortion. I was like, there's just no way. There's no way. I can't do this. Now, my child's father also wanted to get an abortion. He wasn't ready. Totally understand. And when I tell y'all, I was so miserable. Like, I want to cry thinking about it, because I wasn't miserable as in the point that I was like, oh my God. It was more so like, I want to keep this child. Like, I'm telling myself that I want an abortion, that I need an abortion. But in my soul, I was like, I can't do this. I can't go through with this. I can't. Like, I was crying every day, crying in the shower, praying to God, because I was like, God, what do I do? Like, my body is not allowing me to do this. Like, I can't. Like, this little itty bitty girl that was in my itty bitty belly, I just wanted her. She was like, I was already so in love, and it was so weird, because at one point I always told myself, like, girl, if you get knocked up at this age, like, you gotta get an abortion. You got too much life to live. Literally, the more I thought about it, I was like, there's no way I can do this. Like, I can't. So then I went to go talk to my baby dad, and I was straight up with him. I was straight up because it was to the point where I was super depressed, because I'm over here trying to tell myself that I want to get an abortion when I didn't want to anymore, and it just came over me. I had told my child's father, I was like, hey, I don't think I can go through with this. Like, I want to keep this baby. Like, I know I can do it. Like, so it got to a pretty nasty argument. He didn't want anything to do with my child. And like I said, I told him in the messages, I was like, hey, I totally understand if you want to dip. I get it. Like, I'm not going to force you to do anything. Because at the end of the day, this man is telling me he doesn't want to be a part of this child's life. What can I do? I'm not gonna force somebody to stay when they don't want to be there. You feel me? So obviously I said F the abortion, and I just didn't get it. And now I have the most beautiful baby girl in the whole entire universe. She's my best friend, the love of my life, and I would never switch anything else. Literally, I'm so glad that God spoke to me and was like, no, you need to do this. Everything started to align the way it should. I got an amazing job that was paying me really well. I was getting paid weekly. I was getting paid good, girl. And then of course, then TikTok happened, and then more opportunities just came flowing out of that. Like, everything just piled on in the best way possible. Fast forward to now, my child does have a relationship with her father. He did end up coming around, and like, I would never ever take that opportunity away from my child. Everything's going good, but of course there's a lot of ups and downs. I literally love being a mother. Like, my little girl is my whole entire universe. I thank God every single day for her. But like, I want more kids. I want way more kids, but like, first I gotta be, you know, married and tied down.
Will I be the astronaut if I told my male 46 kids, male 16, female 18, their recently deceased mother, female 44, cheated on me? The wound's still a bit fresh. A month ago, my wife of 22 years tragically died in a car crash. Cynthia was one of those drivers that loved to stare into her phone, and unfortunately, this bad habit caught up with her in the last week of January. I was pretty devastated when the police showed up at my door and told me she had a fatal accident, and I wanted to honor her somehow. At the time of the accident, I had no idea she was having an affair. The last 4 or 5 months, I did notice she was pulling away and our intimacy decreased, but I thought this was just something that happened to couples after 20 years, so I didn't put much mind to it. But, at least from what she told me, Cynthia started to get into writing. She was constantly on her laptop typing away at all hours. She told me she was working on a fantasy book, hopefully the first of a series. When I asked more, she said it was about a fantasy world where a super advanced human race appears and interacts with orcs and elves and magic with laser guns and high tech. It sounded very cool, and Cynthia promised as soon as she had a first draft she liked, she would let me read it. I decided to honor her by getting the draft of her book and hiring a writer to clean it up and publish it with a novelty press. I got on her laptop and no book, no sign at all. I opened her Chrome, thinking she might have written it in Google Drive, and saw a bunch of pinned tabs. One was a Facebook Messenger tab with a ton of her messages with a man, John. I have no idea who John is, never met him, but they talked about meeting up, exchanging photos, everything. The last message John sent her was 2 days before Cynthia's accident. The two saying they loved each other, and him saying he was going on a business trip to Germany. The messages between Cynthia and John have shown they had met up at the house more than once, so I already had the locks changed. Not sure if John is back yet, and frankly, don't care if he is. I was thoroughly devastated. She did have a Google Drive tab, but in her drive wasn't a book about elves as Vulcans, but a shared document with John. The document was a plan she and John drafted on how to divorce me, turn the kids against me, and take our home and as much money as possible. One thing she noted was she had been taking money, a few hundred a month, and putting it in a separate account. I got the bank thing sorted out and the money in the kids' college account. I've also been going to therapy twice a week now. It is hard to be mad at someone who is dead, especially someone everyone else in your life is grieving and praising as a wonderful wife and mother. I have asked my therapist if I should tell my kids about what Cynthia has done and what she was planning to do. My therapist cautioned me about this. He said that they just lost their mother, and being told this would be condemning her memory. Damnatio memoriae. Maybe now is not the time, but I think eventually would be a time for my kids to know. Wow. Okay. Comments here. 1, now is definitely not the time to burden them with that. 2, I agree. As someone who lost a parent when I was growing up, I could not handle information like that at the time. I know every kid is different, so you know yours the best, but personally, I think it'd be easier to wait until they are independent adults, not just legal adults, because I did not consider myself to be functioning as an adult at 18 and can process everything without taking a toll on their mental health during a time of grief. 3, my kids were grown and still had daddy on a pedestal. I told them eventually that he might have been a good dad, but he wasn't a good husband. They got it. They were 4 and 5 when he died and 20-something when I said that. They quit comparing their stepdad so harshly. Update 5 days later. Some things have happened since last time. To answer some questions, I have gone to the bank and got control of Cynthia's account and transferred the money into savings account for the kids. Also, my kids already suspected. Okay. Tuesday night, my eldest Michelle said her and my son Jason had something to say to me. They sat me down in the living room and Michelle said, "We think mom was cheating on you." They both said they weren't sure, but it was eating them up to see me in extreme grief the past month, and they thought I should hear what they suspected. They brought up how Cynthia was always away, and when she was at home, she would make strange observations about me. Stuff like, "Isn't it weird your dad's working late this week?" This is one of those seeds Cynthia mentioned in her document that she wanted to plant in the kids. Okay, so she did already start that phase. Michelle said her suspicions were high the week before the accident when she got home from school and saw a strange jacket on the coat hook by the front door. It wasn't any jacket Jason or I had, so she was very suspicious about it. I told both of my kids that I didn't tell them, but I found the evidence on their mom's computer when I was looking for the book she said she was writing. Michelle wanted to see the evidence, but Jason said he didn't want to think or talk about mom for a while. I shared the info with Michelle after she insisted she already suspected her mom and was ready for it. It feels good to now have someone close that can talk to me about this beyond my therapist. Yesterday afternoon, I was home alone when I heard someone jiggling the back door's knob. I went to the door and saw a man I've never seen before trying to use a key on the lock. I told him to step back from the door and he almost jumped. I opened the door crack and asked him who he was and what he was doing in my backyard. It was John, Cynthia's affair partner. He told me that he had worked with my wife and he just got back from a trip and saw Cynthia passed away on social media. And he and Cynthia were starting a business. They had a business bank account with his investment money in the business, and he was wondering if I could help him get the business funds transferred over. I looked him straight in the eye and said I was at the bank and Cynthia didn't have an extra business account and that I had no idea what he was talking about. John also said that he wanted to check my wife's things for any sensitive business documents. I said he was a stranger and was not welcome in my home, especially since he tried to enter without permission. John looked defeated, but did suggest he would consult with a lawyer about his sensitive business documents and business funds. Update number 2. Had to clean up some situations. Just remembered this existed, so I'd pop in to update. Some people were upset with my comment about my wife's bad texting habit catching up with her. Have to admit emotions were and are probably still and will be high for quite a while regarding her. It was a pretty callous thing to say, I admit. The locks were changed before John showed up, when I saw, based on their conversations, that he was at the house several times. Also, the back door is in the same room as the home office, so of course I could hear someone trying to open it. I've had a credit check done on Cynthia and checked with all the local banks. I got the only account she had. Been going through our financials for the last year, and there were several withdrawals by her for a few hundred here or there a month, which it doesn't appear were deposited into the getaway account. So there's something somewhere. The getaway account did have an extra approximate $2,000 in it versus what she took out. Could be John's money, can't be sure. Cynthia hasn't worked in 2 years. We reached a level of financial stability to where Cynthia wanted to retire early and focus on being a fantasy writer. No idea where she met John, and honestly, it's beyond the point of caring right now. Didn't recognize John from the photos because most of the shots were not facially focused, sorry to say. Oof. I did take some advice and hired a PI to investigate. John, good call. He is a 40-year-old married carpenter and father of 3. Lots of people suggested I destroy his marriage or sue him, but honestly, the whole ordeal has me exhausted. I am just happy to have Michelle and Jason with me. I still go to counseling every week, and the days are getting better. Now for the update. In Cynthia and John's master plan, one of their ideas to alienate my children from me was to create a narrative of me cheating. They put screenshots of various escorts from some sort of website in the document, saying they could easily pay one to claim I was sleeping with her. What the? Cynthia picked a rather large woman who looked like she had some rough years and seemed gleeful in the idea of making the children think I slept with that woman over her. Surprise, Sunday night, who was knocking at the door but that woman? She immediately tried to cause a scene and tried to make adulterous claims, but I simply said, "Did John last name send you?" And she immediately left without a word. John called me later that night and said he wanted his investment money and he knew how to hurt me. Okay. I told him we were on a recorded line, a bluff, and he was silent before saying wrong number and hanging up. Might need to start looking at an RO now.
September 2010, my GP prescribes me so much Prozac, I lose all concept of what's right and wrong. Parents are concerned, friends are concerned. You know who's not concerned? Me, baby. First time in my entire life, I have no anxiety, no depression, no fear of anything. Panic episode. Lasted almost a year, and around here is when I started dating a drug dealer. This is episode 3 of every guy I've ever dated. This guy, when I met him, was actually really sweet. I actually made a video of the first time we hung out, which I will put right here. You can go in my feed. He was friends with my cousin, so I knew him since I was 14. Now I'm 18, and it's Thanksgiving weekend during university, so he comes home for the week. Me, him, my friend, my cousin go to this house with like 2 of my cousin's other friends. I ended up dating, brought a joint that was medical or whatever, and I took one hit of it. I lost all my vision. I had to go in a room and sit there for an hour and a half staring at the walls. Anyway, he comes in and like saves me, you know. He's like, "You're okay, here's a water, here's a soda water." We end up making out. 2 weeks later, my friend's parents were going to visit family in the town that he went to university in. So I lied to my parents and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna hitch a ride with them and go visit friends like at this university," even though I like don't even think I had any friends at that university. Anyway, hitch a ride with him, tell them to drop me off at a bus stop, take a half-hour bus ride to a trailer park. It wasn't actually a trailer park, it looked like a bunch of mobile homes, but like on a street. So I don't know. He meets me outside his trailer. Again, super sweet, super cute. I go into his trailer. I was like, oh my God, this is a trap house. It wasn't. It was honestly just like a university house. Although it was weird because there was a table with bongs all over it and 3 fucking stoned guys staring at a wall that had a projection of some weird anime movie on it, and there was another projector projecting another movie onto their own faces. None of them were speaking, so I was like, this is fucking horrifying. I'm just a widow girl. Anyway, we end up sleeping together that night. I don't pee the entire night because I didn't know how to do that yet, but you know what I mean? Like when you're first wheeling someone and you like don't know how to wake up, pee, and come back without it being weird somehow. Anyway, get a UTI, go home. Anyway, I don't see him again till the summer. This was December, now it's the summer. So in between that, I dated a few guys. That'll be different episodes. But anyway, he gets home for the summer. We start hooking up, and at first, he's the nice, sweet boy I remember from when I was 14. But as the summer progressive, he slowly becomes the meanest person I have ever met in my entire life. Also, I found out the hard way that he's an addict, and if anybody here's ever dated an addict, you know that it's hard, sad, annoying. Never knew which version of him I was gonna get, but at this point I'm in too deep. I'm already in love, you know? He bait and switched me. So on so much Prozac, it could probably kill an elephant, so I don't give a shit about any of this. So around this time, he realizes I have a car and he doesn't. He enlists me to drive him to all these drug deals. They like, just pull over here, don't speak. Silent, little doe-eyed bear, and whoever would get in the backseat of my car and they'd be like, this was still in an era where I probably thought that was cool. I probably thought like, oh, my man's a criminal. Like, he's gonna go to jail. Every time I asked him if we were dating, he'd be like, no. So now what's really happening is my man is not going to jail. What's really happening is some dude is using you for your car and you think you're Bonnie and Clyde. You're not. Anyway, this goes on for a while and it's kind of chill, I guess, until he started getting violent and then he OD'd in the back of my car. So basically, I thought my boyfriend and I were Bonnie and Clyde when really he was just a drug dealer and I would drive him to all his drug deals because he didn't have a license. But he was my twin flame. Honestly, when I hear Megan Fox talk about Machine Gun Kelly, she reminds me of me when I was a teenager. So here I am, his chauffeur. I'm on a regime. Like, I am with him every single day. And anytime I wouldn't hang out with him, he'd be like, well, I guess I'll have to go sleep with someone else. And he wouldn't let me call him my boyfriend. He'd be like, that's just between us. Don't tell anybody I'm your boyfriend. And I'm like, who's that embarrassing for? Me? A normal, nice person? Or you? You look like Scott Disick now. Gaunt, hollow, a nursery rhyme villain. Anyway, I was a dumbass, like Megan Fox. So I kept dating him and I stuck to the plan. I was with him every single night. If I wanted to do anything with my friends for the entire summer, like I would just have to do so knowing that he was going to sleep with someone else. Spoiler, I don't think there was anybody else because who else would there be? This guy was a fucking loser and I could not see that. One night we're in a fight and I'm like, fuck this, you're being unreasonable. I'm dropping you off at home. I'm dropping you off at home because you're always in my car. To his house and I look in the back seat and he's like this, like, hey, we're at your house, and he's not moving. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, hey, and then he just goes, I don't know what drugs he was on. I feel like a lot. Look at this rat tail. Anyway, I open the back door. He falls out of my car like dead weight. Like I thought he was playing me at first. Now he's on the grass in front of his house. He starts, trigger warning, throwing up black tar. It was the most demonic, fucked up thing I've ever seen in my life. And also I have emetophobia. So I was like, this cannot be my problem. I start going, what did you take? What did you take? And he's obviously nonverbal and remained nonverbal until I grabbed my phone and I'm like, I'm calling 911. Whatever strength he had in him, he smacked the phone out of my hand and said, no. I'm like, what? And he points to my car and he's pointing to his backpack. I remember if he said it or if I just put two and two together, but I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of drugs in his backpack. I'm going, okay, why don't I just fucking throw your backpack at the neighbor's house? Like, whatever. And he's like, don't call 911, don't call 911. If I don't, what do I do instead? I grab him by both hands and I drag his body, which by the way was easy because he was 1 pound soaking wet, up to his porch and put him on his side on his porch. And I just left him there. We're in a fight. It's not like I could babysit him all night. And I was also kind of like, ew. In retrospect, should I have just called 911? Obviously, that's what I would have done as an adult. But next day he was fine. And this wasn't the first time something like that happened. Like there's been a few times where I've been out in my car in the middle of the night looking for him in ditches because I'd like never heard from him or like a friend would be like, oh, he never made it to the bar. And I'm like, this guy's so fucked up all the time. Like, I don't know where he is. Eventually we get in a fight that makes me come to my senses. I don't remember what the fight was. It was one of a million. So obviously I don't remember the details, but I just go, fuck this. You never wanted to be my boyfriend. Great. You're not my boyfriend. Ciao. And that was fine. I didn't hear from him for a few days. And then he starts calling my cell phone again. I'm not kidding. 100 phone calls an hour. So I block his number. Back then you had to call your cell phone carrier to block a number. Like my BlackBerry didn't do that. The person calling you could still call, but it wouldn't ring on your end. So he would still call thinking that my phone's just ringing, but it wasn't. But what I did find out is that he could leave fucking voicemails. So I get 50 voicemails. Sam, I'm gonna unalive myself. Sam, God, please. I'm not picking up. Because also this was a toxic relationship. That was a constant threat. And a major reason I wouldn't leave him. He finds my family's phone number. He starts calling my home, like my parents' house, leaving the same voicemails on their voicemail, which is like projected to the whole house. One night I'm at my friend's house and my mom calls me. She's like, your fucking boyfriend has called 25 times saying he's gonna live himself whenever. I'm like, oh my God. Like, call the carrier, unblock his number. The second I unblock it, my phone's already ringing. Pick up, I go, what the fuck do you want? He goes, oh, you picked up. I go, yeah, because you're harassing my family. And he's like, I need to see you. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do without you. Like, I'm dead without. I'm like, you need to leave me the fuck alone. Leave my parents the fuck alone. Like, you are out of your mind. I've wasted enough time with you. You're a jackass. And he's like, no, I love you. Like, let me buy you a plane ticket to come visit me because he was going back to school. No, sorry, whatever. Go home from my friend's house. Dirt at my window. Couldn't even pick up a rock. Picks up a clump of dirt. I look down, he's standing outside my window. It's like 2 a.m. Open the window, I go, get the fuck out of here. I'm calling the cops. And he goes, I'm gonna unalive myself. And I go, do it. I slam the window. Anyway, to say he's a narcissist, he's alive and well, I think. And he messaged me, that was in 2011, and he messaged me every single year until 2018. It went in my message requests on Facebook. You'd think that's the only psychotic narcissist I dated, but I actually dated one more after that. I think you'll really like the next guy I date. He was a riot until I dumped him and he puked on himself.
They say Hollywood is a devil's playground and history repeats itself. Sean Diddy Combs, also known as P. Diddy, is being investigated by the feds and has gotten his homes raided. According to the NY Post, he owes nearly $100 million in mortgage payments on the trio of mansions in Los Angeles and Miami. Homeland Security searched his home on a range of allegations, including sex trafficking. This all started when Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend, filed explosive lawsuits against him in November and December of 2023, accusing the artist of sexual and physical abuse, in which they settled for millions. However, this followed multiple others coming forward and doing the same. From there, the perfectly wrapped bow started loosening as media speculation of old footage and videos of Diddy's alleged parties started coming to light. A video surfaced recently of Diddy's alleged neighbor stating that a busload full of girls would show up at his home around 2 to 3 a.m. consistently. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs or any of his family have been arrested or restricted to travel. He's denied all of these allegations, but let's go through the timeline since 1990. In November 2023, a lawsuit from Lisa Gardner alleged that Combs and R&B singer Aaron Hall assaulted her and her friend in 1990. In another lawsuit from November 2023, Joy Dickerson Neal alleges that Combs had drugged and assaulted her when she was 19. He also recorded and shared a video of it. In 1993, Combs found Bad Boy Records and began discovering and developing hip-hop artists. In April 1999, he was arrested on suspicion of assaulting Interscope Records executive Steve Stout and pleaded guilty to harassment. December 1999, he was charged with criminal possession of a weapon after police found a weapon in his car following a shooting at a club in NYC. Him and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez were arrested. In a December 2023 lawsuit, in 2003, Combs and others allegedly drugged and gang assaulted a then 17-year-old girl. The alleged assault took place in the NYC recording studio after they flew in with the victim from Detroit. In 2005, Combs, who was in his 30s, meets 19-year-old Cassie Ventura and expressed interest in signing her to Bad Boy Records. She signs a 10-album deal in 2006. During this time, he manipulates her into a relationship. The lawsuit outlined how he had her take illegal substances before sleeping with her for the first time. Then, during their 9-year relationship, he would continue the abuse with witnesses present. However, his tremendously loyal network would watch the abuse and not act in her defense. In one incident, he repeatedly kicked and stomped her until she vomited, and that's when he stopped. In February 2024, Jones became the 5th person to file a lawsuit against Combs alleging sexual assault. It named several notable entertainment industry figures, including Combs' own son, Universal Music Group CEO Stevie J, and female rapper Young Miami. Combs has stepped down as chairman of Revolt TV, and as of a couple days ago, sold off all of his shares for an undisclosed amount. Details are still unfolding.
It's my last day with these braids, so we're gonna send her off with a proper goodbye and do a little makeup look. Being the only one amongst your girls who's in a long-term relationship when you're on spring break is so interesting. To start off, I'm going through TSA, and if you watch my videos, you'll know that I always have an M necklace on. My boyfriend gifted it to me like 4 years ago. It's his initial for Michael. Tell me why I feel something just like fall down my neck, and it's the M necklace just randomly breaks 4 years later while I'm going through TSA. And I'm just like, the devil is trying it, because usually when a man tries it, I'm just like, that M around my neck, that's my boyfriend's initial. Just like, don't even try it. But I basically just like spent all of my spring break going, I'm married, or like sometimes my friends would like beat me to it. I had one of my rings in my ring finger. Anytime a man would like come up, it's like, I'm married, like back up. What was so funny was that obviously like my friends are single, they're doing their thing, so like sometimes they'd be like dancing with these men, and what we do is that like I'd be in the middle like dancing by myself, or like being like their third wheel, and they would like be surrounding me. And like I feel like when you're alone, men take that as like an invitation to try to like pull up behind you, and I would literally turn around and be like, ew, stop. Spray that concealer down. Then I truly cannot make this up. There was one man who was like at his bachelor party, and I spent the night lecturing him, just being like, dude, like what you're doing is cheating on your future wife. She doesn't know what you're doing. You're out here just like disrespecting her. Because I told him I was married, and he's like, oh, like you're so loyal, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm loyal because I love my man, and like I'm not tempted to cheat on him. Because he was like trying to like get smooth with me, and I'm just like, no, like you are getting married, and you need to realize that like if your future wife were to see this, she would like literally be like devastated. Okay, this is my first time like doing this with my concealer, and it's giving very much trust the process because I'm looking scared. Then you guys, you know what? This one I'm actually kind of used to. I'm laying on the beach, right? Minding my own business. I'm turned around, whatever. And I just hear somebody go, beautiful black girl. And my friends and I stop and we're like, what the hell? I have every single shade of the LYS blushes, and I feel like these two are calling my name, so let's do that. I don't know if he's talking to me or my other friend, but like that just caught me off guard. So like I snapped my head up and boom, he's looking directly at me, and I'm like, what the I can't even pretend to be flattered. I was kind of just like, dude, like, I'm married, and if you're trying to get with a black woman, maybe don't start it off with beautiful black woman. Guys, this is so pretty. I'm not even gonna mix it with the other one. This is in the shade Elite LYS. you ate this. So after I told him I'm married, this man goes, oh, your husband isn't even here. And my friends are like, well, how do you know? What if he pulls up right now? And he keeps going on about how like he's not technically white because he's Puerto Rican. And I'm literally just like on the beach like blank stare. But like anytime I would get drunk, you guys, I would literally, it'd be like 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm in the club and I'm like texting my man, I'm like, hey, I miss you. So I fear I will never be understanding the whole get drunk and cheat dilemma, because I get drunk and the only thing I like want is just my man. But I'm telling you, those are like tiny little instances, because compared to what my friends went through, baby, those are stories, right?